We Said It.
Hi, hello. Welcome to another episode of Now We've Said It. It's me, Quisha. How are y'all doing today? Y'all, you know me. Right off the top, as usual, I'm sorry this podcast is coming out a day late. With the work starting back up on Monday, things have been a little bit hectic for me, and it's just, y'all know, if you work a job, trying to get back into the swing of things has proven itself to be difficult, but regardless, I am here. We're going to talk about Salt Lake City and Atlanta today. Before I do want to talk about a little bit of, tea, drama, gossip, and whatnot. So first of all, regarding ATL, I saw a quick blurb, which I believe it was on the Instagram page for Reality Blurb, that Ralph came out and said the reason behind his behavior, because of course he's been getting a lot of backlash for the way he is on the show. He pretty much blamed it on anxiety and stress. You didn't look stressed when you were yelling and talking to your wife and her mother that way. I don't believe him. Y'all, Ralph definitely already, their first few episodes, their first season, he is already been given the title. He's going up there in that little group of the worst house husbands. He already earned the spot. He's right up there with the rest of them. With the Jim Belinos and the Brooks. Who else had a really bad husband? Oh my gosh. I mean, R.I.P. But his name's drawing. I think his name was Randall, the guy that killed himself on Beverly Hills, the one that was married to Taylor. Him. Oh my! You guys, there have been so many bad husbands. I can't even think of them off the top of my head because there are so many. Michael Darby. They all have a special place in hell, and they all should gather around there and shoot house husbands of hell. Ralph should join them because he belongs right in there with them. There are more bad husbands, y'all. I might talk about that in a separate podcast. The men of Housewives, because yeah, I don't believe Ralph when he's trying to blame his stress and anxiety. Stress and anxiety over what? Also, I saw another little piece that Erica Jane said that all will be revealed during this new season of Beverly Hills regarding her pending divorce with Tom. I don't believe her. Erica is a very guarded person, so I really don't see her opening up more than she has to. If she does open up and really give it to us in Beverly Hills, she will redeem herself because she's been giving us nothing for a very long time. I think I only liked Erica her first season, and then after that I realized, okay, this is just a gimmick. She's just, she's just a little gimmick. She's a prop. She's not giving us anything other than looks. And honestly, for the past 2 seasons, Dorit's been serving up all the looks. So we don't even need you for that, Henny. So you better bring something else. And it's a little bit of that karma come around to you the way they treated Denise last season. I feel like the way they treated Denise and all the little sly and slick Instagram posts Erica made, it's all coming back to her in the form of all this drama. She knew something was coming down the line for her. She should have just kept her mouth shut and she would have looked fine. But now it's like, bitch, Prayers for Deandra from Housewives of Dallas. She is in the ICU for COVID-related issues. Oh my gosh, y'all, Deandra is so funny. She's gotten really good the past few seasons, and I really hope she makes a recovery. Housewives of Dallas is actually on tonight. I'm recording this on Tuesday night. You're listening to this on Wednesday. I don't know that I'll be able to watch this tonight because I have to edit this podcast, so it can be up tomorrow. So, And I'm recording this at 7 o'clock. I had to do it when I got off work, I had to do what I got to do. So, that's that. I'm trying to think if there's any other tea, but I don't think there is. I don't think I saw much. Oh, wait. I did see that there was a little talk about Robin maybe getting fired, but she clapped back and says that is not true. I believe her. Robin brought it this season. If there was any season to not fire Robin, it was this past season. She actually brought entertainment and little keys and jokes and little side comments for once. If they were going to fire Robin, they would have done it way before season 5 because she really stepped it up in season 5 in my opinion. I also have a little screenshot that I got from my Facebook group. Let me remember which one, y'all. I'm in so many Facebook groups. Oh wait, never mind. This is from Instagram. My bad. So Christian Gray Snow on Instagram posted this post, and I'm gonna read it. It says, "To no one's surprise, it appears The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City has been renewed for season 2, of course. They say a source tells me Meredith received a contract and signed a 3-month lease on a home exclusively for filming." I knew Meredith's house was rented. I could tell when that fire alarm was going off in Beekman. She was like, call the people. See, that's calling the leasing office because you're renting. I know that because that's what I got to do. And I rent. So she signed a 3-month lease on a new house for filming. Says the house has already been approved by the HOA and neighbors for exterior shots and production crew parking. She will move in by the end of the month. Considering it's a 3-month contract and she's moving in so soon, it appears filming for season 2 will begin shortly after the reunion. Salt Lake City is growing on me. I really do feel like with them getting another season, they really have the opportunity to step up the drama. I know they have a lot of secrets, y'all. Come on now. Okay, so the Instagram post also reads, another bit of tea. Allegedly, Jinsha has not yet been offered a contract. My source says that could obviously change in the blink of an eye, but as of right now, no contract. Jen has been told she doesn't feel authentic. Y'all, you know I said it. I told you she's performative. She's an actor. She studied the Housewives and she's acting the way she thinks a housewife should act instead of acting like herself. I feel like if Jen would let her true self shine, and you know what a sad thing is? I don't even know if she knows who her true self is. She seems a little bit lost, but definitely don't come on doing like the housewife thing. Everybody notices that so quick. I noticed it immediately. I was like, nah, she's acting. She's acting. So that's the tea, y'all. So Salt Lake City does get a season 2. I'm very excited about that. Now, without further ado, let's get into the last episode of Salt Lake City. A new episode, of course, comes out on the day that you guys are listening to this. I'm going to try my best to have it up by Friday along with a Dallas recap. So this is Salt Lake City, Season 1, Episode 8, and it is titled Hot Tub Confessions. Now, we open up the episode with the only Mary scene of the entire episode, and I feel cheated. We need more Mary. I want to know what she's doing at all times. She's calling her son back to ask him when he buys his girlfriend Prada bags, is he using her money or his? You mean his money or the church's money? Mary, you know that's not your money. Buying bags on the church's dime. I can't believe it. Then she tells him, don't buy her nothing else expensive unless you're going to marry that girl. I feel like what she was trying to say is don't be buying her Prada bags with my card because that is for me to buy Prada bags via the church's coin. All right? And that's all we see of Mary in this entire episode, and I don't like that. So then we get a scene with Whitney and Justin. They're out to dinner, and they're like reminiscing on when they used to role play. And she was like, I'm trying to get laid tonight. I know that's right, girl. Me too. And the scene is pretty boring. It's just basically setting us up for them to go visit her dad later on. I will say this. Has anyone noticed how awkward her husband seems on camera? I mean, of course he's nervous. He's probably never been on TV before, like a lot of people. I don't know, it's just something about his facial expressions and the way he looks. He just looks very uncomfortable. I need to know what's going on with Justin. And I also want to know more information about his family, like his ex-wife and his kids. I remember it was the episode where Whitney threw him the birthday party and she said he gave up everything for me, his family, church, all those relationships for me. So if they've been married for 10 years, why has he still not been able to talk to his kids? Or does he? I want to know if he has any kind of relationship with his kids, because after 10 years, y'all can't come to some sort of mutual understanding and some sort of common ground, being cordial around each other. Something is definitely afoot. So I want to know more about his family. What about them kids? I noticed later on when they go visit her dad at the rehab facility, she's like, yeah, because your grandkids want to be there for you. They want to see you. Are you just talking about Whitney's kids with Justin? Or I think she has a kid from a previous marriage and then kids with Justin. But are you talking about the kids that Whitney has that you're allowed to see? Or are you talking about Whitney and Justin's kids? I need the tea. Then we shoot over to Jen's house. One of her sons is sick and she's bringing in the older one, telling him he needs to use his medical expertise. Isn't he still in school? To diagnose the boy. First of all, he just looks like he got like a little cold or a fever or something. He looks fine. And Jen was like, can you tell his temperature? And the boy was like, just by putting my hand on his forehead? No. He didn't do not a damn thing. I don't even think he touched the boy. He didn't talk to him. He just stood in the back of the room while Jen did all the work. But, I guess him being a medical presence in the room made everybody feel better, I guess. And then Jen asked the younger one, oh, do you want mommy to cuddle in bed with you? And he was like, no, ma'am. But he said it, polite, like, no, ma'am. But he was like, bitch, no. He like a grown-ass man. Why would he want her cuddling in bed with him? He don't want... No. Then we have Heather. She's visiting her new headquarters for her beauty space. It looks like it's going to be really nice. And I'm not going to say too much else about this scene because it was kind of boring. But I will say one thing she said made me feel very proud of her. She said back when she was married, she would do like services and stuff. And her husband really didn't see the importance of it. He was like, so what? Did that just make you like $400? And he was like, it's not worth it. And she was like, it's not about the $400. It's about me being independent and doing my own thing and doing what makes me happy. And now she's able to live out her dream and do this all on her own. But is she really doing it on her own? Because he's still supporting them in some way financially. Listen, I'm not judging. Do you, boo? Get the money. If somebody was offering to support me in any kind of financial way, y'all, if y'all want me to drop my Cash App, Venmo, PayPal, anything, let me know. I'm willing. But good for her. So then we have another awkward scripted planned stage scene with Meredith and Seth. Y'all, this scene made me very uncomfortable, mostly because of the way Seth was looking at her. I feel like Seth is permanently drunk. I feel like I said that before when they were at dinner, when they first talked about their separation. He looks like a man who really likes to drink. And we see evidence of that later on in the episode. But anyway, in this scene, they are pretty much saying that they're going to make up and they're going to give their marriage another try. And then Brooks calls and dampens the mood. He is such a wet blanket. Brooks, I think I was listening to Sup with Laura and Carrie, and they described it as Brooks is an energy vampire. He talks very low. He's very boring, very Kourtney Kardashian, low energy, tired, sleepy, droopy. I don't want to see Brooks anymore. He's making me sleepy. Then we see Lisa and her husband. They're having dinner. He wants them to focus more on themselves, like actually spending time together rather than them spending time together and her constantly working. She's kind of listening. Kind of. Lisa is really starting to grow on me. At first, I was kind of like not paying her much attention, but now just the things that she says and the way that she says Jesus and just the way that she talks is so specific. I love Jen. Oop, my bad. I love Lisa. What I do not like is that very fake scene. So basically he's telling her she needs to get off the phone so much, blah, 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 blah. So then they cut to a scene of her in her confessional and she's pretending to type on the phone. And she's like, listen, I can do this. I can check emails and talk to you guys while I'm texting. I can do this, all of this. I'm very capable. And while she's typing and talking, the producer asks her, so how was your dinner with John? I think that's his name. And she goes, I'm sorry, what did you say? And she even smiled because, bitch, y'all knew y'all planned that. And Lisa, you don't have to do that, baby. You're funny enough on your own. You do not have to do little tricks and stuff like that. Don't do that. So basically, he's telling her they probably need to cut back on work a little bit and put more focus on them and their kids. And she gets a little emotional in her confessional talking about it. She just says she wants to make sure that they're taken care of and that she spends enough time with them. But when they cut back to the scene of her and her husband, he's pretty much saying the same thing. She's like, okay, so do you want to get the check? He's like, yeah, let's go. So then we have Whitney and her husband. They are going to the sober living facility to have a mediation meeting with her dad. He texted her, she said SOS. He texted her in an emergency fashion saying like he was getting a roommate and that was not acceptable. So they're going to visit him to figure out exactly what's going on and why is he throwing a temper tantrum over having a roommate. And she emphasizes that she was like, I know that my dad is older and, it's really not the vibe, to have a roommate when you're 50, 60 years old. But at the same time, he needs to realize that this is not a vacation and there's work to be done and he really doesn't have the option to be picky. So they start the meeting up with her dad, pretty much doubling down. He hit a Nene. He said what he said. He said, listen, when I first got here, I specifically said that I do not want a roommate because it's just too much for me. Listen, Dad, having a roommate is too much for all of us, okay? Nobody wants a roommate. I think it's very weird for people to really like having roommates. Like, what? Get out my face. I'm not a roommate type of a girl. I did it once and I learned my lesson. I understand what he's saying, but he also needs to realize like you're in a facility for treatment and a lot of the times that comes with having a roommate. And brother, you just gonna have to deal. But he said, listen, y'all are not respecting my wishes. And you know what? That's honestly all we hear about the roommate situation. I still have questions. Did he get the roommate? How did it go? I need an update. They never said anything about the roommate after this sentence. I need to know. So then they move on to him talking about how he's ready to just like start his life and start making money. And Whitney was like, so how do you plan to do this? Have you even been looking for a job or any kind of way to make money? He was like, nah. So she was like, you can't just walk out of here and immediately open a business. Where are you going to get the money from? She says, when you have a plan like that, it sounds like you're going to need some help. And he goes, yeah, I'm gonna probably need a little bit of help. Whitney says in her confessional that the first time he went to rehab, he wanted her to pay $30,000 for everything. And then he proceeded to break down everything he paid for throughout her life growing up. Now, if that ain't some petty shit. He said, no, baby, you owe me. And she said when she first heard that, all she thought was fuck you, but she ended up paying for it. That's that guilt, child. Won't be me. First of all, I ain't got it. I would like to take a step away from the podcast. I would just like to take a little break here. I'm cuddled up in the comfiest robe that my mother got me for Christmas. It is so soft. I feel very luxurious. I'm recording my podcast. I'm in bed. I'm in a robe. I have a face mask on. I'm just wanting y'all to have an idea of the vibes. Drinking water. Sadly, that's my current situation. I do have a roommate. He's my man of 7 years. And when I first got here, I also outlined that I did not want a roommate. But here we are. Moving on. She says, I don't want you to get back to the point where you're expecting me to pay for your life. It makes me resent you. Justin jumps in and he says, the goal is for you to get better. And we think that you should get a job while you're in here and make some money. So that way when you leave, you can have like some money behind you, a little bit of income. And he seems to agree, but I'm not exactly sure how long he's really planning to stay at the facility. He's ready to get up out of there and move it and shake it, which is very scary and dangerous, especially with his, with his past. I didn't even notice that he drank at her vow renewal. I was too busy looking at his hair, child. I didn't even see what was in his hand. Next, we have the couples meeting up to go snowmobiling. Jen and Sharif show up, followed by Meredith and Seth. Jen is side-eyeing Meredith and Seth being together because the last thing she heard, they were separated, and Meredith probably seeing somebody new. She saw her all booed up in New York with that man, so that's all. Those are the last pictures in her mind. She was like, oh, hey, Seth. So then they all start to arrive. They give their pleasantries, their hellos, and they get ready to get on all the snowmobiles, and the guy goes, all right, who's the single rider? Heather was like, me. She goes, I have no problem being the single rider because to me, snowmobiling is just like sex. It's much more fulfilling if you just do it alone. All right. Heather, my queen. And then they start to drive and all the couples are falling off, of course, except for Heather, who's gliding through the snow. Child, she hit that Cool Rider from Grease. Cool Rider. You better ride on, girl. Okay, so then they settle down after the little ride to have lunch and chats, and Sharif starts talking about how he met Jen. I'm skipping over this because they already told us about it in the first episode and whatever. Sharif is giving me actor vibes as well. He's too put together in the way that he speaks, and I have an idea that this probably comes from him being like a coach and giving a lot of speeches and stuff. He definitely knows how to please a crowd. And I'm like, all right, I see you, Sharif. I'm watching you. What Lies Beneath? Who was that, Diane Lane in that movie? And Amber Valletta. Hey, girl. All right, anyway. So they're talking. Sharif saying the whole thing. And he mentions how sweet Jen was. Everybody was like, bitch, they hit a record scratch, like, who? And then, of course, the producers cut to Jen being extremely unsweet. I feel like Jen has the potential to be a sweet person. I feel like if she just drops this facade, she probably is a really nice and sweet person, but it ain't coming across on camera, honey. So they say since Sharif is only in town for one more day, the couple should come back to their place. I'm guessing the next day for, like, food or whatever. And I think it was Whitney and Heather who said they can't make it. And then Whitney pulls Heather to the side to talk about Meredith and Seth. And Whitney says, it makes you question what all this talk is about, right? Because they're like, oh, look, they're here together. And Heather was like, what are you talking about? And then Whitney proceeds to tell Heather what Jen told her about Meredith and that dude in New York. And Heather was like, I'm not going to confront Meredith about it or ask her anything about it because I'm not interested in learning anything about it. Heather said it has nothing to do with me. I'm not getting in it. Heather just continues to be so above it all, but at the same time getting in the mess a little bit, but knowing when to step back and knowing when to say, hey, this is not for me. I don't know nothing about it. But then also knowing when to kind of get in the mix just a little bit while all the time saying, hey, leave the chicken drumsticks on the table. Don't forget about the food. For that, I stand. And then Heather says in her confessional that Jen showed her the pictures of Meredith and the guy, and it looked like they were in a relationship. And she says Jen acted like it was some deep, dark secret that nobody was going to be talking about. And she was like, since Whitney knows about it, Jen clearly has been running her mouth, and that rubs her the wrong way. And then Heather says it makes her think that this is not what friends do. She's thinking Jen is behaving sneakily, snake-like, very snake-like. She says she's not interested in discussing a situation that's supposed to be private regarding Meredith and Seth. I know that's right. Also, I feel like Heather knows that shit's boring and she don't give a fuck. So then the couples arrive to the Shaw house, I'm assuming the next day, and we have Lisa and John and Seth and Meredith. Sharif offers them non-alcoholic beverages, and Seth was like, where's the booze? I'm telling y'all, I'm watching Seth. He likes the drink. I respect him, but he already seemed drunk by the time they sat down to the little meal or whatever. Maybe he just has that permanently drunk voice. Meredith kind of has a little bit too, but he really sounds like perma-drunk. Then they talk about like the similarities and differences between Muslims and Mormons. I believe it was John who said that Mormons can't have coffee, tea, tobacco, or alcohol. Baby, I need 2 of those. Give me the tea and give me the alcohol. You can keep the coffee and tobacco. I don't need it. So then they talk about having multiple wives, and Sharif goes, it's permissible. And Jen was like, no, it is not. She was like, he doesn't need more than one wife because one Jen is equivalent to 45 wives. And that might be the most true thing she has ever said. She seems like a handful. And then Sharif asks John and Lisa about being Mormon while owning an alcohol company. And Lisa says that she doesn't subscribe to the cultural aspect of the religion. Jen was like, that's bullshit. Lisa is subscribing to the Lisa Barlow church, okay? I feel like Lisa is doing it the best way. She's having as much or as little religion as she is willing to allow in her life and continuing to live a life. And like she said, she's like, God is not going to punish me for owning a liquor company. I think some people really do get caught up in trying to live exactly by the book that they prevent themselves from living their lives. Lisa said it ain't me. Shots for everyone. Vita tequila, child. Jen proceeds to invite all the ladies into the hot tub, and Lisa was like, wait, after I just ate? Girl, me too. I don't like to do anything very physical after I eat. I don't like to go to the beach, get in a pool after I eat. I don't like to have sex after I eat. I'm not down with eating and doing very exposing activities. No ma'am. I'm full, I'm bloated, I'm sleepy. This is not the time. But anyway, they get in the hot tub. The men stay in the house. They're like playing, what is that, shuffleboard? Y'all, I don't know. Look like some rich people game. It looks like shuffleboard though. I never knew. I don't know. It looks boring. So then the men are talking to Sharif about how long he's on the road during recruiting season. He says it's a year-long thing. He goes, no matter how long you do it for, your family never gets used to it. So I was very curious about exactly what Sharif does because I thought he was just a coach. So I was like, if he's a coach, why is he traveling so much? I mean, okay, you have away games, but that's not that demanding of a schedule to where he's never home. And then we find out that he's a recruiter. So I'm assuming he goes to colleges and looks at players to put on teams. Y'all, I'm guessing. I don't know sports, okay? I'm assuming this is what he does. So now I understand why he's gone so much, but is it really year round? Some sports person tell me. Well, I don't imagine a sports person is listening to this, but if you know, or if you happen to be, if you know about recruiting, let me know. Is it truly year round? I'm suspicious about that. Sharif says that Jen takes his being away more seriously than she takes her being away. He says she places more weight on when he's gone versus when she's gone. Oh, I can definitely see that. Jen is definitely giving me the vibes of it's okay when I do it, but I don't like when you do it. She's definitely giving me all of that. And then John opens up about how a lot of the times when he's near Lisa, they're not actually spending time together because she's working. He's like, she'll have me like drive her to 7-Eleven to get a Coke. Okay, I have another question. Why is she always being driven to 7-Eleven to buy Coke? Why doesn't she just buy Coke? Get a 12-pack or 24-pack or whatever and keep it in the house. Maybe she likes fountain Coke. Okay, y'all are rich. Get the little fountain thing. This is like the 3rd time it's been mentioned that she likes to be driven to 7-Eleven to get a Coke. Like, what? Is this an activity? And then Lisa says that when it comes to their marriage, she expects John to take care of her emotionally and in every single capacity. I know that's right, girl. And then Sharif says that Jen says a lot of things for shock value and he doesn't understand why she's on him so hard. Child, we've seen proof of Jen saying things for shock value. That is truly real. And then Jen again brings up that Sharif wasn't able to attend her dad's funeral. So I believe she said her dad died 2 years ago. This is definitely something that is weighing on her. her, and she needs to talk to him about it because she keeps bringing it up on the show. And I'm sure him watching this, he's realizing exactly how much it affected her, but he should have known that in the moment. They seem to be pretty close, and you are choosing to go recruit instead of come to your father-in-law's funeral? Oh no. How much was the check that you had to miss that funeral? How much were you getting paid? Was it worth it? Clearly not, because Jen is not living it down. She's not going to let him live it down. And she says she feels like she needs to hide her feelings. And the women are telling her, listen, you need to get it out because it's going to build up inside of you. Then they shoot back up to the men, and they're talking about the difficulty or the challenges of being married to alpha females. And they say that they're developing new relationships and fighting for their marriages. I mean, I guess I can give them props for fighting for their marriages and trying. I don't feel like Sharif is doing all that much trying. I don't even believe that Seth and Meredith are really back together. I feel like a lot of the other women are saying Meredith is putting on for the show. She probably does have that little man on the side, and good for her. I mean, whatever. If it's better for y'all to be apart, then y'all should be apart. The kids are old enough, okay? They are college age. Speaking of Meredith, they shoot back to the hot tub, and she's giving politician answers, and Jen is rolling her eyes. Jen says she feels like Meredith is trying to make everything seem perfect. Meredith says she's not going to open up about the reconciliation until she's absolutely positive that they're moving forward with it. Jen says she's over here opening up and being very vulnerable, and she just wishes Meredith would do the same. And that's where the episode ends. How do I feel about this episode overall? It was okay. The last hot tub scene was really good. The sober living scene was pretty good. This was definitely more of a filler episode, but it was decent. Next week we see more of Meredith and Seth trying to make things work. We got dry ass Brooks. Heather's daughter is talking about getting piercings. Jen is throwing a hip hop party for Sharif. Wait, let me say that again. Jen is throwing a hip hop party for Sharif, and Mary is not invited. Like, come on. She's getting the Monique treatment, and this is ridiculous. And then we see scenes from the hip hop party. Ciao. Whitney is trying to break dance. Baby, don't do that. And she looks very drunk. It looks like a disaster, but in the best way. And then Whitney seems to be like super drunk, and she's attempting to like confront Jen about what she's been saying about Meredith, and Jen blows up and throws her drink. Oh my gosh. Okay, so the next episode looks like it's going to be a really, really good one, which will be much deserved after this lackluster episode. I want to see more of Mary. It's getting ridiculous. In the preview, she is calling Robert Sr., and he's telling her, don't cry about this mess. But I mean, it's got to be hurtful. It's hurtful to me because I want to see more of Mary, okay? So that is the Salt Lake City recap. I just had something to say and it just slipped my mind. Oh yeah, a little bit more tea. I just mentioned Monique. I saw something else, and I believe it was Reality Blurb on Instagram. I never read the whole articles. I just read the quick little things in the captions. It looks like Andy has been getting backlash for the way he conducted himself at the reunion for Potomac. People were saying he was too hard on Monique, and he seemed to be siding with Candace. And I was too lazy to go read what he said, but I'll try to find it and talk about it in a few minutes here when I come back to recap Atlanta. BRB. Okay, so now we are back with the Housewives of Atlanta. This is season 13, episode 4, and it is titled From One Surprise to Another. Girl, how do I feel about this episode overall? It was moderately juicy. I'm just going to leave it at that. So let's get right into the recap. So we open up with Portia and Shamia. They're talking about Portia's experience in jail, talking about the meat, calling it mystery meat and all that. The way she built up, it was like a meat sandwich, and the way she built it up, Shamia was like also like a mystery Big Mac. Like, child, I'm dead. Then we go over to Drew and Ralph. For whatever reason, Drew is sitting at the table with full-blown makeup, and what I'm telling y'all, it's full-out glam. Like, sis is beat for the gods. It's not even like a natural beat. So I'm guessing maybe she filmed another scene later, or she had a photo shoot. I'm very confused as to why she was so damn beat at this meal. But it was Drew, Ralph, and their little daughter. She's so adorable. They're just having lunch or whatever. And then we go over to Mallory, Cynthia, and Kenya. They're meeting up for yoga, and they start doing the yoga. Their yoga instructor goes by the name of Yogi A. All right. And they start doing yoga. They take a break, and then they get on the whole Cynthia and Mike situation. Y'all, this scene was very explosive on many levels. I think this is one of the first times where they actually broke the fourth wall instead of just saying, oh, we're breaking the fourth wall, or just alluding to breaking the fourth wall, because Kenya truly called Cynthia out. Basically, they questioned Cynthia on, hey, like, what does this wedding date really mean to you? Is the date really important, or is it like all about a whole big show? Cynthia was insisting that it was not about a big show, but behind the scenes, in between, it really does. It's true. Cynthia was definitely doing it for the show, and she wanted it to be a big production, but I don't think she understood that it would have already gotten a lot of attention because it would have been a very major wedding during a pandemic. But I understand during that time they didn't understand, but at the same time, y'all, it was October, so like, they should have known a little bit more. I don't know when the planning phase was happening, but I'm definitely side-eyeing Cynthia during this scene. Kenya was the first person to call it out. She was like, you're just doing it for a show and you're not really doing it to be married to this man. And Mike is seeing it as, you're only doing it for the show and you don't want to be married to me. Cynthia was like, that's not what I'm doing. And they were like, yes, you are. And she was like, no, I'm not. And they were like, okay, so why are you doing it? And her explanation was extremely convoluted because she really was doing it for the show. And deep down, I really do think that Cynthia was trying to make up for her marriage to Peter. She really wanted to be like, okay, y'all saw my first marriage, now look at this one. I feel like Cynthia was really doing that, or she was trying to do that with this wedding to Mike. That already tells me that this union is not going to be a good one. They're getting married under very superficial pretenses, and that's not the way to go into any marriage. I do understand that they're on a TV show and whatever, but at the end of the day, this is a person that you are married to. Y'all, they fucking married. This is supposed to be your partner, and I don't really think that Cynthia, I'm gonna go ahead and say this. Y'all don't judge me. I'm just saying, this is my opinion. In Tamara Barney's voice, I just don't think that Cynthia really cares all that much about the man that she's with. Honestly, truly, like, y'all, I'm being so serious when I say this. I think Cynthia would be perfectly fine being a single, sexy lady. Cynthia, okay, it'd be cool to be attached to a man and get some dick every now and then, but at the end of the day, Cynthia is so beautiful. She is so luxurious. I don't really think that being with a man, a life partner, is all that important to somebody like Cynthia. Think about the previous man that was in her life. You have Leon. I mean, perfect gentleman, great father, amazing human being. What was wrong with Leon that they couldn't make it work? I do understand that things go wrong and just sometimes the person is not the person for you. I also did not think that Peter was the person for Cynthia, and I also don't think that Mike is the person for Cynthia. I don't know who the man is for Cynthia, but I have yet to see him. So I feel like she's just doing these things to continuously be on the show, y'all. I'm just saying. Y'all, what's going on with Leon? Is he married? Is he in a relationship? What's going on with him? Asking for a friend. Somebody call Leon. So basically, Cynthia says, okay, I'm going to go ahead and break the fourth wall all the way down. And she goes, I am not doing this for the show. Kenya was like, you're very much doing this for the show, because what other reason do you have for not marrying this man on this date? If you can't have this huge production, why is that so important? And Cynthia was like, yeah, I'm telling you, she's making excuses because they're right. She really does want to do it for the show. And then she says in her confessional, Bravo didn't ask me to have a wedding. Bravo didn't ask me to get engaged. Bravo didn't ask me to get divorced. No, but it's great TV, girl. They're not asking you to do any of these things, but if you're doing it, all the more better. Like, what? I'm sorry, but Cynthia's coming off so stupid in this storyline, and I feel like this is going to be her storyline for the whole season, and I don't like that. So Cynthia basically says, okay, so now that you guys are making me understand how he feels, I'm going to go back to him and I'm going to tell him I'm going to marry him whenever and wherever. Okay. Kenya says, yeah, I just don't want to go backwards in our friendship. She goes, I realize that I treated not only Cynthia, but a lot of the people that I care about very badly last year, and I almost ruined our friendship. And then they show the clip of Kenya very closely ruining Cynthia's engagement to Mike. Listen, I feel like Cynthia might have known a little bit what was going on, but Kenya definitely like put it over the top. Like, I would be so upset. So then we see Candy and Kenya. They're meeting up for like lunch or whatever. Candy says the last time Cynthia got married, it was in the midst of brokenness. Bitch, I cannot. And she goes, oh, now she got a little bit of coin, so now she's trying to do it big. But girl, Candy said she was in the midst of brokenness. Well, now she's doing it in the midst of a pandemic. I guess luck is just not on Cynthia's side. Kenya reiterates how she felt bad about almost ruining the engagement, and she says she wants to make it up to her by throwing her a surprise engagement party. If you go back and watch this scene, Candy's facial expressions throughout the whole scene are phenomenal. As a matter of fact, Candy's facial expressions most of the time are truly me. I'm gonna let y'all in on a little bit of tea. It's not true nowadays, but back when Candy was popping, when she had the "When You're Out in the Club, Don't Think I'm Not," when she had that song, was very popular. I was in middle school and people used to say I look like Candy. And when I look at Candy nowadays and I see her face, it is always the face that I'm feeling. And I feel like we're one. I have only been compared to Candy that one time when you're out in the club, Candy. Candy's rolling her eyes. She's like, what, bitch? Okay. She's doing a lot of, in Danny Pellegrino's way, she's doing a lot of face work. Candy gives the best. She really does. She really gives face. Kenya goes, oh, I want you to be the one to send out all the invitations, because if you do it, everyone will actually show up on time. And Candy was like, wait a minute, I feel like you want me to do it, because if you do it, no one's going to show up because nobody likes your funky ass. Kenny was like, no, that's not true, but bitch, it's very much true. And then they start going over the guest list and they get to Portia, and Kenny goes, oh, did you hear Portia got arrested again? And y'all, her face, the way she said it was like, this bitch. Candy was like, why did you say it like that? And Kenny was like, I don't know, I just feel like the way she's protesting, she's going about it in the wrong way. She wasn't wearing a mask and she's doing all the wrong things. And Candy in her confessional said, you know, back then we didn't really know what the proper protocols were. So Portia, I'm sure Portia was doing the best she could. So then they start moving down the guest list. Kenny was like, oh yeah, Toya, invite LaToya. And Candy was like, what? I'm telling y'all, please go look at Candy's face. Candy was like, who, bitch? What? And then Candy was like, oh yeah, she came over the other day and we started taking shots so she could take advantage of me or something. Okay. And then the producer asked Kenya in her confessional, oh, do you see anything happening with you and LaToya in the future? And Kenya starts being all fake and phony. She was like, what? Why are you questioning me like this? Are you serious? And it's like, y'all, see, Kenya is one of those fake lesbians. She wants to be fake and flirty for the camera, but when it comes down to get down, she ain't going down. And then they show another clip of her talking to Twitch. She's like, oh, you can get naked whenever you want. It's like, girl, Kenya is playing, and I can see it in her eyes and her face and her emotions. Like, oh my god, like, she's a. All right, I'm gonna move on. She giving play vibes. I don't like that. Like, what we finna do? So then we shoot over to Drew and Ralph's house, and they're getting ready for their therapy session that's gonna be conducted outside. This scene really irked my nerves and my spirit on such a level. He's the devil. You guys, he is the devil. I'm saying it right now, and I don't want to say anything like this that's like, I'm going to just choose my words very wisely. He's a dangerous man, and that's all I'm going to say. They come in the form of a smile. Oh, this scene chilled me to my bone. All right, let's get into it. I'm going to skip all over the BS. They talking to the mom. I don't care. Okay, so then they get to the counseling session. Oh my God. Drew says that they would go to counseling sessions in the past and Ralph would never do the homework, so they were never able to really work through their problems. Then she says that she's even lost track of how many times they've been to counseling. Okay, this is the part that threw me because y'all have already been to counseling so much to the point that you can't even recall how many times, and this is the way that y'all communicate. Red flag, flag on the field, whatever you call it, red flag. If this is the way that two people are communicating to each other that have been through multiple, countless hours sessions of counseling. Y'all, this is not going to work. Any scene that I watch with them, I'm going to talk more to the scene about when they're talking about his father. Even earlier in the episode when they were having that little lunch or whatever, when her face was beat to the gods, it seems like any kind of regular conversation with them seems extremely strained, which means like, are y'all even exchanging pleasantries? Are y'all even having any kind of baseline, regular human relationship conversations? And it's even to the point to where I don't even know how they conduct their everyday lives. I'm putting out an SOS on Drew. And you have to think, y'all, this is for camera. So how are they when the camera's not around? What is a normal day-to-day like conversation life like with them? I'm also trying to remember the fact that she's an actress and maybe they're like putting on a show, but y'all, if this is a show, very entertaining. That was quite a show. Y'all, if they're acting, this is a great job. Because I've never seen two people that hate each other more since Tamara and Simon in OC. Oh, before we do, Drew also says that the argument that they got into on their anniversary was probably one of the worst fights they've ever had. I don't believe her. So then they get in the session and Drew says that Ralph isn't very affectionate towards her son Josiah from her previous marriage. She pretty much says that she just wants him to treat Josiah like he treats the other two biological kids. I can definitely get that energy from Ralph. Y'all, this whole time he is smiling through that fucking face shield. This smirky, smug smile. I hate him. He is so evil. I don't know how this woman sleeps next to this man at night comfortably. Bitch, no ma'am, is fucking hell. There's no way I'm sleeping next to this man at night. No, bitch, what? His face, that smile, that smirk. I thought he was cute for 2 minutes in the first episode, and then after, no ma'am. No, that attraction goes right out the window when that crazy come out. I don't like that. Not in a man. See, crazy girls kind of like sexy. You know, they're kind of wild and rough, but not no crazy man. They like to kill. Ralph really does rub me as the type to only tend to his biological kids more than the stepkids or whatever. He seems very selfish and nasty that way. So then the therapist was basically asking Drew, what does she want? She's, outside of that, I want transparency. And then the therapist asked Ralph what are the things that he's looking for, to get out of these sessions. And he goes, I want respect and sex. The counselor was like, okay, what do you mean? Like, what's the frequency? He goes, at minimum 3 times a week. I'm going to agree with Ralph there. I feel like 3 times a week is very reasonable, for a, moderately healthy sex life, especially as a married couple. 3 times a week is cool, but I don't think he's taking into consideration that she doesn't want to have sex with him because he's a monster. You have to want to have sex with somebody in a marriage, and she probably don't want to open her legs to that fucking monster. Baby, you making me dry. I'm closing my legs to this married man. So then Ralph says that Drew treats him the same way that her mother treated her father, which is in an emasculating manner. So Drew disagrees, and honestly, I agree with Drew because I don't think Ralph would allow anybody to talk to him that way. Ralph doesn't come off as the type of person to allow himself to be emasculated. So then after she says that, she starts to get a little bit emotional, and he touches her shoulder in a very awkward way. He goes okay, in a very sarcastic way. She goes, what was that about? And he was like, it looks like you're about to cry. And then he has that dumbass smirk on his face, and I don't know, y'all, just the way he said it, it was so condescending. He goes, okay, because it looked like you were about to cry. Oh my God, are you fucking sad? And she was like, no, I'm okay. He goes, okay, are you okay? Because you're about to cry. Just way harsh, Ty. It was just so demeaning and almost in a mocking manner. It was just, and I couldn't believe that the counselor didn't pick up on this because just his actions and his face see those red flags immediately. This is the thing about it when it comes to picking the right therapist or counselor or whatever. You need somebody that's going to be able to pick up on these signals and mannerisms and actions. This woman wasn't even noticing his face. So she's like, I'm okay. She like tries to put herself together. Then he goes on to talk about his childhood trauma, and he talks about how, you know, he pretty much had to be the man of the family at a very young age, and during his senior year in high school, his mother basically didn't appreciate him. Here's what I'm going to put in my 2 cents. As somebody else that grew up having to contribute to my family when I was in high school, I had to pay bills, I had to get a job, I had to help my mom financially because the bum-ass men in her life were not. I never expected any kind of affection from my mom, or it was never something that I was like, oh, you owe me because I'm helping you. I just felt like this was something that I needed to do because we needed to survive. So I'm seeing this from a different side of it. He saw it differently. He proceeds to say he told his mom in his senior year that since she didn't appreciate all the things that he was doing for her, he was leaving. He's such a little fucking baby. He needs gratification, praise for all the fucking things that you. How about just being a man and just like taking care of your family and helping out around the house and helping your mom because she's tired and doing the best that she can? But no, you want to make your mom feel guilty and make her apologize to you. And he goes, oh yeah, and I left it. Oh yeah, so then she got evicted because I left. And then she apologized to me. First of all, my mom would never apologize to me. So this is the way that he talks to women. This is clearly a pattern, because at first I was shocked that he talked to Drew and her mom that way, and then I realized, oh no, you talk to your mom like that too when you're in high school. So you just like left your mom cold and dry and left her to get evicted and forced her to apologize to you. Y'all, I'm telling you, he might be number 1 for a worst house husband. I feel like he has a slight God complex. There is something about him that is so disgusting, and I want him off the show because now he's gonna get attention. Fucking bitches are going to be coming after him, and it's just like, I hate that we give people like this a platform because they are so problematic. They are so dangerous. He needs real help. So then Drew starts talking to the therapist, and she's like, I don't want him to like punish me and treat me like he treated his mother. And she's so emotional, and y'all, that whole fucking time, it might be cutaways from the cameras or whatever. I feel like it's not. But he had that fucking dumb look on his face the whole goddamn time. I couldn't believe it. And then the therapist says to Ralph, as you see your wife's being very emotional, what does it make you want to do? And then he like begrudgingly puts his arm around her. He's like, I'm sorry. I don't fucking believe him. And even her in her confessional, she was like, I would love to take Ralph at his word, but I really can't because I've never seen any action behind his words. Bitch, period. Like, you can talk to me until the cows come home, but until you actually do something, I'm not gonna fucking believe you. I am an actions person. I like action. That scene was so hard to watch. To watch her being treated like that, and then to also realize that they've been together for 6 years. She's been putting up with this, like, abuse, like, I'm sure it's like day after day after day. Like, oh my God, what the actual fuck is going on? Alright, so moving on. So then we get to Cynthia's house, and she's on a call with Lauren, Portia's sister, and she is pouring herself a drink. Listen, Cynthia is the queen of promotion, okay? Plug. She has, if you look on the back of her backsplash, she has all of her little drinks with her collab with Seagram's, and on top of that, she's pouring herself a glass of her collab with Seagram's. Now, we don't see her take the drink, because I'm sure that shit is sweet as fuck. Any of those little mixed drinks by Seagram's are absolutely disgusting. Listen, kudos to Cynthia for getting one, a collab with Seagram's, but them shit's nasty, dog. So Lauren is inviting Cynthia for a get together to celebrate Portia and all the work that she's done with the Black Lives Matter movement and that whole thing. And Cynthia goes, oh, can I bring a +1? Because I want to bring Kenya. And Lauren was like, she was like, I guess you can bring her as long as she comes with good intentions. And Cynthia was like, okay, cool. And then Cynthia also reveals that she's working on, cutting down the guest list in her vows with Mike. It's cute or whatever, but we'll see. So then she calls Kenya and tells Kenya about the gathering, and of course Kenya is being shady as usual. She says, well, I'll come and show my support for a little bit. So that was that scene. Then we cut back to Drew and Ralph, and they're getting ready to leave for North Carolina because his dad died from a heart attack. I'm very sorry to his family, but I cannot feel any type of sympathy for Ralph because he is such a monster. I'm so sorry. I'm gonna skip over the scene, y'all. I can't. I don't care. I don't believe him, and I don't trust him. So Bye. Tanya, she's actually picking up Portia to get her out of the house so that Lauren can set up for the party. They're going to meet Marlo for drinks, and on the way, Tanya has to stop for gas. And y'all, I don't think Tanya's pumped gas a day in her life. Now, mind you, she is in a matte black Rolls Royce. I don't know what the gas requirements are, but I'm sure it's pretty basic. But she's confused about putting the card in and the payment. I was like, this bitch never pumped gas before. It was so funny. Okay, so then they meet up with Marlo for drinks, and Portia pretty much confirms that her and Dennis are officially broken up. She says they're doing the best they can. They're co-parenting for the sake of little PJ. And then she also reveals that Dennis has been giving her like daily co-parenting gifts in the form of Chanel bags. Honey, I wish. She goes, oh, he's not making it seem like getting back together. He's like, oh, you can't wear these in jail. Listen, Portia said, I'm not getting back with him, bitch, but I'm keeping these bags. And then we shoot over to a scene of Kenya calling Cynthia right ahead of the party. Like, she's getting ready for the party. She's getting hair and makeup, and she's showing Cynthia what she got for Portia. She got like little baby PJ, like a little Rosa Parks baby doll. And she's like, yeah, I just can't wait to give it to her. And Cynthia was like, well, I got a text from Lauren earlier telling me that it would be best if you did not come. And Kenya was like, what? And you see her turning around to her production like, did anybody know about this? And they were like, no. And she was like, well, somebody's paying for my hair and makeup. Bitch, why are you getting your hair and makeup done in a pandemic? If you're like me, you can do your own hair and makeup. You can follow my other YouTube page, which is a makeup channel. It's called LQ Love. Follow me, bitch. I do makeup tutorials, beginner friendly, more sophisticated, whatever you need. Follow me, shameless plug. Bye. So then we see the women start to arrive at Portia's party, and they're all dressed in black, you know, for Black Lives Matter. They all look very beautiful. We see LaToya's messy ass. She comes up and she meets Fallon for the first time, y'all. So they sit down, and Fallon's like, oh my God, Cynthia, you're so tall. If I had your height, the things I could do in my life, but I'm stuck with all these kids. And they're like, oh, how many kids do you have? She's like, well, my husband has 5 and I have 3, so we make 8. And they're like, wait, what? And they're like, how old's your husband? And she was like, oh, he's 56. And Toya's like, yeah, I knew it. They looked at Toya like, what do you mean, how do you know it? And LaToya was like, you look like a woman that dates older men. Like, you're very beautiful. You just look like you date older men. She was like, first of all, my husband is the only older man I've ever dated. And they were like, okay, like, cool. And then they were like, oh, so were you married before? And she was like, yeah, briefly. And LaToya was like, oh, was to an older man? And Cannon was like, no, she just said her current husband is the only older man. And Fallon's like, yeah, no. Okay, so speaking really quickly on Fallon, I didn't really notice it before, but I listened to a couple of podcasts and they said that they thought that Fallon might be like a potential future housewife, or even maybe even a friend of this season or next season. And I can definitely see that when I go back and look at that pool party. Her entry definitely looks like future housewife or friend of entry. Just the way she came in, the house, the luxury, her beauty. Y'all, I'm not very good at like picking up on that kind of stuff, but after listening to a couple of podcasts, I'm like, oh, that definitely looked like an audition to see how she meshed with the ladies. So I feel like we're gonna see more of Fallon, and even maybe into season, what is this, 13? So maybe even to season like 14 or 15, she might even be a potential housewife. She definitely has housewife potential because her story seems very interesting. She's got that old ass husband, all those goddamn kids, that big ass empty rented ass house, newly renovated. It feels like they bought the house just to be on the show. So I'm just very interested. Fallon intrigues me way more than LaToya. LaToya just seems very messy for no reason, and Candy even said it herself. LaToya is like Kenya. They just say things right out of their mouth just to piss people off. And it's very true. Like, just saying stuff to be like, for shock value. And it's like, you're not funny, you're not cute. I mean, LaToya is very beautiful, but her mouth makes her so unattractive. Y'all, it can really turn me off in a second. Somebody's mouth, baby, I ain't here for it. So then we see Portia finally pulling up with Tanya. Y'all, I don't know if that's Tanya's car. It was giving me rented vibes as well. But anyway, they pull up. Portia's just like overwhelmed with emotion. It was really sweet to see. She felt undeserving because she was like, I was only doing what I felt in my heart, and I was only doing what I felt was right. And she said, when I saw all these people celebrating me, even when I felt like I didn't need to be celebrated, it just gave me the motivation to just keep going. It's so cute. So then they get to the party. She's crying I even got a little bit emotional at this point. Y'all, the work that she did, and it was such a monumental moment. Everything that we've been through as a people, and just to see it really, not even gonna cry right now, but y'all, I might cry. But for real, it was really, truly emotional, and it was just really sweet to see. And then they get to the backyard, to the actual party. Baby PJ's there. She's holding up a no justice, no peace sign. It's very beautiful. And of course, she gives a speech, and she pretty much says that complacency is something that we cannot live in anymore. We have to fight, basically, to have the same rights and treatment as everyone else. And it's so true. It just reminds me that we are not done fighting, y'all. We really do still have so much work to be done as Black people. We just really got to keep pushing and, keep the movement going forward. Don't let it die down. It was overwhelming. It was beautiful. And that's pretty much where the episode wraps up. So then next week we get a super short preview. I can't even believe it. We got some sort of I couldn't tell if it was a preview for the bachelorette party or what, because it was mixed in with the white party scenes. We then see Riley heading off to college. We see Kenny and Portia probably getting into it at that white party, and that's pretty much all the preview that we got. So it makes me think that there's not much coming up, so that leaves me a little bit worried. I guess we'll see, y'all. So those are my recaps for the Housewives of Salt Lake City and Atlanta. Please let me know what you think. I would love to hear your thoughts. Please comment down below. You can email me at nowwe'vesaidit@gmail.com. You can also hit me up at nowwe'vesaidit on Instagram. Y'all, you can hit me up in the YouTube comments. Please talk to me, y'all. I talk back. I'm tired. My voice is weary. I've truly been talking for 3 hours. And just to let you know, so as I whittle down this podcast, just to let you know, I've been talking for 3 hours. So wherever we end up, thank you so much for listening to this recap. Please give me positive rates and reviews and comments and everything in your iTunes and your Google and your Spotify, wherever you're listening to this podcast. I really appreciate you. Thank you so much for listening. I will absolutely try my best to have the recaps of Dallas and Salt Lake City up for you by Friday. Y'all, I'm trying my best. I'm sorry I have a regular job. I'm not making excuses. I'm just letting y'all know why sometimes the podcasts are a day or two later or whatever. I'm just, just out here trying my best. All right. Anyway, thank you so much for listening, and I will see y'all next week. This has been another episode of Now We Said It. Bye.
But now we said it.